Listen up. Creating and maintaining a happy marriage with a high quality wife is one of the most rewarding experiences you can have in this life as a man. A love not only filled with intimacy, passion, and commitment, but also a woman who would never leave your side no matter what. A woman that would give you daily reminders of how much she respects and admires you. A woman that not only accepts you fully, but also challenges you to be a better man than you even see yourself as. Few men ever find a woman like that. And even fewer get to keep it past the honeymoon phase because they were never taught how to maintain that in a woman. And if you fail to know how to keep that type of a relationship alive, like the 75% of men that finally lose her for good, then you will see her fall for another man and give all those gifts to him with you left feeling absolutely defeated. I know it hurts to hear that because it's supposed to. It's supposed to be a wake-up call to learn what I'm going to teach you in today's video. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the only changes you need to stop divorce and to become a high-value man in the process. Now, unfortunately, there are so many experts that say this when it comes to maintaining a relationship.
A happy wife gives you a happy life, that's for sure, 100%.
I believe a lot of people lack proper communication.
Of course, you should be able to communicate well. Trust is important for commitment. And take your woman on a damn date once in a while, for sure. But as you'll see, none of those things matter if a man cannot meet her most important need. And that's what you're going to discover in today's video. So I'm going to show you this many lessons to get her to not only stop divorce, but to fall back madly in love with you again. Now, I've compiled these lessons from pulling hundreds of men in my program and a decade as a licensed therapist. So let's go. The first principle is to be stronger than your wife. A lot of guys say, well, Josh, I am stronger than her. What do you mean by that? I don't mean physical strength. I mean your sense of frame or reality. Let's go over a practical example. Let's say you had a friend that you haven't seen in a long time. He moves back to your hometown and he says, hey, I want to have a game night with a lot of our old friends. You're so excited. This is one of your best friends you haven't seen in a long time. And then your wife comes to you. She says, well, you know, that's nice that you can do that, but you actually have to watch the kids at night because I have bunco with my girlfriends that I actually scheduled a long time ago. Now, of course, logistically, you can speak this out with her, but what's really going on under the surface? Okay, she's testing your frame. She wants to know that you are a man that knows who he is and knows what he wants. Now, a lot of guys hear that. They're like, well, I know who I am. Of course I do. But how can she? You see, just like your muscles can atrophy if you don't work them out, if you don't take care of yourself, your frame can atrophy. Your sense of self can break down and become weak. And it's honestly so insidious because you don't even recognize it until you fail her tests. And subconsciously, she's going to do things like test your frame to see if you actually do what you want to do for yourself to make sure that you are strong in who you are, that you're willing to upset her. One of the most important skills you can have as a man is to be okay upsetting your wife, not from a place of maliciousness, not to purposely do it, but to say, hey, you know what? Of course, I want to compromise with you sometimes. Of course, I'm going to appease you, but sometimes I'm going to stand firm in who I am and what I want because that's who I am. And she can only be with, respect, admire, and be attracted to a man who is firm in who he is or strong in who he is. The second principle here is curtailing complacency. When a man stops evolving, he becomes unbearable to himself and invisible to the woman he loves. Let's face it, I often get asked the same question. The other day when I was in the airport, I was talking to a guy in line. I told him what I did for a living, and he asked me, he goes, what is the most common thing that really causes these marriages to fall apart? And of course, it's a slew of things, but I always go to this answer. See, as men, we like to have checklists. We like to just almost like move those papers off from the things to do pile to the things done. And unfortunately, when it comes to three things in life, your relationship with God, your relationship with your wife, and your own physical health, those are not check marks you can do, okay? That you just achieve it one day and you no longer have to worry about it. But a lot of men, that's the mindset they have in their marriage. You see, it's till death do us part. So she shouldn't leave me. I'm the same man, but what really happens is that men do become complacent. You see, you're not giving your best like you used to in the beginning of the relationship. I know it's hard to be in the same emotional state when you first fell in love with her. With all the stress, the lack of time you have, the kids, and everything else going on in your life. I understand that. But if you give value to your health and time to your health, which you should be, and if you're not, this goes along with the idea of another external marker that you're not taking care of yourself, that you are being complacent. But if you do take care of your health, you're in good physical form, you can devote time to that. So why don't you devote time to your wife? You see, her testing, her coldness, the lack of sex and physical intimacy you have is an outward symptom of what's really going on underneath. You guys can talk about it's the time, it's the stress, it's just a period in your marriage. It's not, okay? If you're not having physical intimacy, if you're not all over each other, then that is an outward symptom of this root problem that you become complacent. You're lacking polarity in the relationship. The way around this is to fall in love with the process, okay, over the outcome. Unfortunately for a lot of men, they go to save their marriage when it's already too late. Now, it's never too late. We help guys in the most dire straits, but there's so much preventative care that you could have had. It's like going to the doctor. It's like, oh, I have stage 3 cancer. Well, it's like, yeah, now we may be able to treat it, but it's going to be invasive. It's going to be hard. It's going to be rough. And if you identified it at the earliest stages, it would have been a lot easier to treat, right? So if your wife is pulling away, she doesn't want to spend as much time with you, she's not being giddy around you, she's not being feminine, you guys aren't having sex, those are all warning signs that the marriage is slowly falling apart. And so you must fall in love with the process of constantly dating her, of teasing her, of creating moments of polarity, where you create that sexual energy. And as the man, it is your responsibility to know how to lead that. Because for this third principle, which ties into the second one, boredom is the death of all attraction. There's 2 components to attraction, or 2 main tenets I want you to know. First of all, attraction is not a conscious choice. You cannot look at someone, no matter how much on paper they have, even if they look good, they just have this off energy, there's something inside you that just creates this desire, this wanting, okay? And secondly, attraction is simply how you feel around them, okay? I was a dating coach for many years before I was a licensed therapist, and I was still doing it when I was a licensed therapist. And there are specific traits in a man that are universal, that trigger attraction in a woman unconsciously, okay? Now, of course, physical looks can help. These external things like having high status, right? Or any other external marker. But even studies will back this up, that it is not those external qualities, but those are manifestations of the internal qualities that a man has that triggers attraction. So as an example with, let's say, the status or the money. For a man to achieve high status or success in life, he must have the internal qualities of ambition and discipline. Now, those 2 qualities in himself, a man who is ambitious and disciplined, he was more likely to help the woman survive, right? He was not distracted by things, okay? And he also wanted more resources, more provisions to provide for his family. And that's why it's attractive. And you have to recognize that the internal qualities in yourself are far more important than these external things. And the reason why I'm emphasizing this so much is because so many guys come to us so confused. They say, Josh, she had everything, and she's with this guy now who has nothing, and don't get it. And this is the piece you are missing, okay? And this idea of boredom, there's so many things that cause attraction that I'm going through in this whole entire list. Don't worry about that. But when it comes to the boredom, this is the roommate syndrome that a lot of men fall into, okay? They don't know how to spike their wife's emotions. They forgot how to flirt with her, okay? They forgot how to do the push-pull techniques that I teach on other videos on this channel. They forgot how to lead her. They forgot how to challenge her, how to have strong boundaries in who they are. All of these things create this up and down emotional state, not from a place of toxicity, like it's hatred and love. No, it's more of like oh my God, he's showing so much interest in me, but I want to go hang out with him. I want to spend some time with him, but he's going to stay at work because that's important for him for quarter's end to meet this goal. Yeah, I'm a little bit triggered by that. I'm a little upset, but I also respect him more. Okay, that is the up and down that I'm talking about. A push-pull technique that I would often teach my clients as well when I was a dating coach, and you can often do this with your wife as well, is let's say you come up to her, right? And you give her the biggest hug in the world, which is a sign of indicator of interest. And you say, oh, I hate you so much. Okay. Or you do the opposite of that, which is like when she says something like, oh, I love you, get away from me. Okay. Now this is a micro example of the push-pull technique that creates this up and down level of attraction. It's flirting. Okay. It's flirting 101. And a lot of men, they honestly treat their wife like, yeah, she's a best friend. You can be friends with your wife, but if you miss this polarity piece, she will only see you as a friend, right? You've been friend zoned by your wife because you've lacked the polarity, right? And so knowing how to trigger this up and down emotional state with her is what's going to create the attraction. And the attraction is that cornerstone piece that triggers all the other desires in her to want to be with you. The fourth principle here is to love the storm, love her storm. Now, 2024 was one of the hardest years of my life. And there was a quote that I saw a couple weeks ago that really encapsulated that whole entire year. And it made it I was able to see the story and kind of move forward from it, not focus on the past. And it was this. It's a simple Arabic quote. All sunshine makes a desert. See, a lot of men, they think their wife is negative, right? Or she always brings up the past and she always talks about things from a negative lens. Why can't she be positive, right? And oftentimes when she's being negative or she's criticizing you, she's triggering you, right? You are getting emotional and reactive. But here's the thing. She couldn't trigger you if there was no trigger to pull, right? And oftentimes the emotions that you are abandoning in her, not allowing to be, you're not holding that space to make her feel safe. You don't allow yourself to feel those negative emotions as well. And as a man, you need to honor every emotion inside of you when they come up. So many men, when they feel anxiety, when they feel fear, they try to push it away. They become anxious about their anxiety. So then it just multiplies over time. And so when it comes to your own emotional intelligence, your ability to sit with her emotions to make her feel safe is correlated, equivalent to your ability to sit with your own negative emotions. That's what an emotional intelligence is. Yes, you can label your emotions, but at the end of the day, that intellect, that ability to have emotional competence is to sit with the emotion and not to try to get rid of it at all. And so what happens, paradoxically, it's illogical, is that the next time she is in her storm and she's upset and you're yelling at her, just press this button right here. The button will turn off the emotion. If you just see the logic in what I'm seeing, then you'll stop being upset. But women are so intuitive. They're so emotionally competent. They want to experience the emotion they're going through, okay? And as a man, you need to have that ability to do so yourself, to be able to sit in her emotions and not change her. Because the moment you authentically do that, her emotion does dissipate. But she can sense, even if you're going to use this as a technique, the next time she's upset at you, you're like, oh, I'm going to let you have your emotion. But really deep down, you're not. She'll sense it. You cannot fake it. So truly tell yourself the next time she's upset, she's dismissive, she's cold, whatever it is, say, that's okay. In your own head, say, I want more of this. Now you could tell her that, hey, you're allowed to feel this way, but truly believe it, okay? And watch magic happen. The fifth principle ties into the loving the storm, which is never run from her emotions. Now, there are 4 main mistakes that I'm going to go over in this principle that men often do that cause the woman to feel unsafe. The first one is to avoid, right? So when your wife gets upset, or whatever it is, whatever emotion you just don't want her to have, you'll leave, okay? You'll avoid inwardly. Okay? Avoiding inwardly, that's called stonewalling from Dr. Gottman, the 4 Horsemen. Stonewalling is just when you shut down, right? You're avoiding her, but your physical body's there, so she can't accuse you from leaving, but you're not there. You're in your own head. You're shut down completely, okay? The next way that you run from her emotions is that you use logic, okay? Just like that button in the storm I told you. It's like, well, yeah, you can be upset that this happened, but is it really that big of a deal? Is this worth the fight? Or what if you just saw it this way? Or like, we can have a gardener, do that. Why do I need to go do that, even though I said so? I can go over plenty of examples, but you get the point. You're trying to use logic. You're trying to rationalize. You're trying to weasel your way out of her emotion, okay? Using rationale. At the end of the day, those things are like oil and water, aren't they? Okay? Don't try to change her emotion. Another side form of logic, one of the mistakes, is to try to solve her problems, right? To try to solve her emotions. So let's say, as an example, she comes home and she's not upset with you in this example. She's mad at something at work, okay? Susan at work, we know Susan is just, she hates Susan, right? She tries to have a good relationship with her, but Susan is just, there's something up her butt, okay? And she comes to you and she says, Susan did X, Y, and Z and it pissed me off, all this stuff. And you're like, well, you can go to HR. Or what if you said this to Susan? Or what if you just, there's another job. I think you could I found a job post the other day. I was actually looking, and you think you're helping her, right? But what that implies is, 1, that she can't solve her own problems. And 2, that she's not allowed to have them. Look, I know your intention is a positive one, that you want her to be happy. But really, if you ask yourself honestly in the mirror, you want her to be happy because only you're happy when she's happy. And when she's upset, you just can't deal with it. The final one is to dismiss her emotions, right? To just, that's just being a dick, to be honest. Don't do that. The 6th principle here is to kill off your father. Not literally, but let me ask you something. What do all these men have in common? Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, Paul Atreides from Dune, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Tony Stark. Their fathers were not in the main story, were they? Now, why is that? Is that a coincidence that all these, did I even say Harry Potter? I meant Harry Potter too. All these famous heroes, right? These people to look up to as men, that we want to embody the same traits, they don't have their father. It's not a coincidence, okay? Because from a spiritual perspective, you must understand that in order for you to become the man you're supposed to be, you have to kill off your father's expectations of you. What this means logically, objectively, is that a lot of men, they're trying to be the man that they think their father wants them to be. You're trying to make daddy proud, okay? Whether you still talk to him or not. If you have a bad relationship with your father, and you still see him as someone that you need respect from, even at your age now, he's still holding on to you, even if he's dead. Even if he's actually gone, but his expectation on you is influencing how you live your life, the values you have. You're never going to step into the authentic, ideal, masculine man that you're supposed to be, okay? The 7th principle is that your purpose will always come first over her. A woman cannot respect a man where his purpose doesn't come first, all right? A lot of men, their struggle here is not enacting that discipline to put your purpose first, is that they actually lack their purpose. And I don't want you to become too overwhelmed. I'm like, I don't know my purpose. How do I figure it out? What I've often found in my 15 years of working with men around the idea of integrating your shadow, individuation, becoming confident, finding your purpose, is that oftentimes it is something inside you that just wants to serve the world. Like, see, you have unique gifts. There's no one else like you in the history of creation. And so you have a unique capacity to serve this world, okay? Your purpose could be a father. It could be your work. And a lot of men it is, and that's great. But oftentimes what they'll do is they'll make all these sacrifices in hopes that they'll receive their wife's love and affection and appreciation. And what they're actually doing on a spiritual level is that they're making their wife their God. They have this empty void inside of them, right? And they put pieces of themselves into their wife and they have nothing left to give. But a lot of men fail to recognize that she fell in love with the man that put her second, okay? Now your purpose could be aligned with God, and that's why people say God comes first about their relationship, right? It's like your relationship with God, your relationship with yourself, then your spouse, then your kids, okay? And then your work. But your work can be synonymous with purpose. I'm not going to confuse you. The point I'm trying to make is you have to ask yourself a few questions is, when did you feel most alive day by day in your work and what you did? What are you constantly thinking about the most? If it's about the relationship with your wife, then you're putting her first. Look, I know with the situation that majority of you are in, it makes sense that that's the biggest problem in my life right now. She's leaving me. It's bad. I need to fix it. I need to focus on this. Maybe the obsession and focus on her is actually the problem. And the moment you can let go of trying to change her, trying to get her back, and rediscover that purpose yourself and who you are as a man, that's when she comes back. The eighth principle here is that she changes through praise, not challenge or criticism. Okay. On a spiritual level, you could say that men are in the masculine form and we're the sun. We're consciousness, right? We grow through fire, through challenge, where the women are the moon or they're the ocean, okay? And that's the feminine. It's soft, it's supple. Yeah, the ocean can just be crash and have its moods and storms. We get that. But generally, water is nourishing. And a lot of men, they'll try to change their wife by criticizing her, by challenging her. So they're using the wrong tool. A prime example, let's say your wife is a bit overweight. She's gained weight over the years, okay? You still love her. You still find her attractive, but you want to find her more attractive. A lot of men, what they'll do is, well, I don't have to go into extreme examples, but they definitely won't praise her, right? They won't say things like, oh, I just love spending time with you in the gym. Or like, oh, you're so sexy when you sweat. Or like, I found these new clothes. Like, look how good they look on you, right? Oh, I just love when you wear these types of clothes. And like, oh, you're so sexy. And I just love you so much. And I want us to like work out together and eat healthy and do all these things. I want us to be healthy together. And you're not making it like a positive emotional connection place with her, right? A lot of men, they'll mention like, oh, you gained a little bit of weight, or like, do you like the way you look? And they're doing this indirect challenge, okay? Which is even worse than directly just saying you look fat, by the way. But don't say that either. What I'm trying to make is that she challenges you to become a better man subconsciously. But you should know deep down that if you want her to change something, you compliment the thing that you love so much. And think of the implications around this when it comes to her behavior, okay? When she's criticizing you, for example, you don't say, oh, I love it when you talk to me this way. I love it when you give me praise. I love it when you challenge me in a loving way. You say, I hate when you do that. You always do this. Why do you have to be this way? Okay. You're doing through challenge. You are trying to set fire to her in hopes that she'll be forged. But she's not a man. She's a woman. She needs to be nourished. Start to reinforce the things you want and see magic occur. The ninth principle here is the attraction paradox. Here's the paradox. You have to want your wife. You have to desire. She loves to be desired, to have attention, but you can't need her. And it's a subtle difference. You have to remind yourself every day, and I know this is hard, but you have to get to a place where as much as you wouldn't want it, as much as you would actually hate it, to not have her in your life anymore, you have to know, not in here, like, oh yeah, I'm going to be okay. No, you have to know everywhere else, in every cell in your being, especially your heart, that you would be okay. That, yeah, you would go through months of pain. But see, a lot of men in our program, if they can really get to that realization that they'd be okay without her. There's some men that don't save their marriage in our program, of course. And then months down the road, they're like, Josh, I realize I'm actually been happier the past few months by myself than the last few months with her. Yeah, I was happier with her in the beginning, but I'm happier now by myself than I have been. I'm more of who I am. And guess what? That is the freaking moment, right, where the wife starts to show interest again. She feels it on this like spiritual level, like she sniffs it out. Like, how women, it's like they can tell when you're having fun without them, they get all upset. That's it. That's another version of this. See, if you recognize that you can have goodness in your life, you could be full without her. She wants to join the party. She wants to go to the place where the fire is already built, where the temple is built up. And I know so many guys out there are like, oh, your woman has to build with you. And that's fine. And, a lot of guys, I get it. She came into your life when you guys didn't have this stuff. I'm not talking financially, okay? Because the man you were internally, she felt that. And that's what you've actually lost. You gain more external things in your life. You lost the internal, okay? And the way this practically looks, let's say you want to invite your wife on a date, okay? Then this is like dating advice 101, by the way, even with a woman that you haven't started dating yet. Now, let me give you a practical example of how this looks day by day with your wife, okay? This also applies if you're dating a new woman. So let's say you want to go do this activity, okay? Now, whether she says yes or no, you're going to do this thing regardless. You're on your path of life and you're just inviting her to your party. So when you invite her along, it's like, hey, I'm giving you this value. Do you want to join my party? Do you want to go do this fun thing with me? I'm doing it regardless. And so if she said no, water off a duck's back, right? You're good. You're good. Now take that micro example and apply that macro to your whole life. You know where you're going. You know who you are. You're not missing pieces of yourself without her. If you can contemplate the idea that you may never be with her ever again, and you could sit with that emotion, go through the pain, cry about it, grieve that loss, and then you interact with her, she will feel that difference. That is the attraction paradox. The 10th principle here is that logic kills emotional connection. And this has been happening in your marriage for years, right? Kids, bills, logistics. You see, logical conversation, it's very poignant. It's very like, let's get this goal done. It's very logical. It's where are we going? What are we doing? You understand what I mean? It's Socratic questioning. It's rational. Okay. That's why there's the two sides of the brain. Where emotional connection, that's when you're just vibing, right? You're just talking nonsense to each other. There's no going in the head. There's no figuring out. There is no problem solving. And so when you're with her in that moment and there's no striving for it, there's no going in your head, you're actually connected with her. Because where your attention goes, that's where energy flows. And so if you're in your head, you're not with her, are you? But if you are able to just let go of trying to fix her, trying to fix the relationship, trying to fix yourself, fix. I get it. You like solving problems in your relationship. I get it. You like solving problems in your business, in your work. You're a man. Like, if we focus on damn problems, even when there aren't any, we figure out problems to solve, right? But there's another component to relationships. It is that connection. It is not having to go anywhere. It's not having to do anything. It's enjoying the moment. It is that metaphorical dance with her. See, you're not trying to like get to a certain place on the dance floor, right? When you're dancing with her, you're in the moment. Sex, by the way, better sex, as you should know, is not trying to, she needs to have an orgasm. I need to have an orgasm. No, it's just experiencing it with her. There is no mind. There is no self. When there's no self, there is enmeshment. There's connection there. You see how that works? So practically the next time you are with her and it's not going the way you want to, you need to, like, we need to talk about the relationship. This is why it doesn't work. We need to sit down and figure this out. It feels forceful to her. It's pressure. It's mundane. It's disgust. There's no connection there. That's not connection. And the way you figure it out is by learning to emotionally connect, by not trying to solve her, when she's in the negative, it's not trying to solve her problems or change how she feels, which seems paradoxical. But if I'm not going to change how she feels, she's going to feel that way. No, she's not. Okay, the opposite is going to be true. And then when things are actually neutral to good, you're flirting with her. You're not trying to go anywhere. You're not trying to do anything. Let's get back to where we need to be. That phrase in itself, when you think that in your head, she feels that like pulling away from what is intuitively. And that's what she rejects, that kind of man. The 11th principle is a pretty simple one. Dude, always make decisions. I was with a really good friend recently and he was with his partner. And I don't say anything. I don't try to teach people while I'm with him. I don't try to solve their problems, okay? But I noticed he was asking her opinion on everything. Should we go here? Should we go do this? He wasn't making any decisions. Now, she loves him to death and they have a good relationship. But you compound that over a decade, that adds stress. A woman wants to be able to let go, especially if your wife works. She's in problem-solving mode all day. When she comes home, she wants you to figure it out for her. And what a gift for you to be the leader. You should want to be a leader. If you don't want to be a leader, make decisions, that's some trauma in yourself that you're abandoning yourself as a man. Okay, you should want to make decisions. Okay. Now, of course, you take her opinion, right? It's like there's two sides of this, right? A whole spectrum. It's like making no decisions, being a passive little nice guy, and then being just a control freak, right? And just be like, we're doing this, we're doing that. And a lot of guys, by the way, so don't make this mistake. If they're on this side of the spectrum, Josh said make decisions. I'm going to decide everything for her. And it actually might work out, but you'll overcompensate. And she'll be like, what the, like this, like you're trying on like a new fashion style that doesn't suit you. And she's like, what are you doing? Okay. It's about finding a middle ground. Okay. It's about making a couple more decisions. As an example that I use that guys love, when you want to go somewhere for dinner and eat somewhere for dinner, right? You're not going to be like, hey, we're going to go do Chinese. We're doing this at 7:00 and you're coming with me. You say, hey, I want Chinese food, but I'm also open to Mexican and Italian. Okay. You're stating what you want. You made the decision that she can latch onto, but you're also giving her the option to choose. That's the healthy middle ground you can use as a framework. Hey, I want this thing. I want to go do this thing at this time. And this is what I want, but I'm open to suggestion. Okay. The 12th principle is that you don't know what you don't know. Okay. Obvious statement of the year, right? I was getting my haircut the other day, fresh new haircut. And I was talking to the barber, telling him what I did. And I shared a quote from Albert Einstein, which is, you cannot solve a problem with the same thinking that created it. Your ego is blind to its own problems. Okay. If you truly understood this concept, this one concept alone, it would just change your whole damn life. The other day I was thinking about this. There's some guy that doesn't like me. Okay. So I know that's shocking. Like, I'm the most likable person on the internet. I don't get it. I really do think that. But I think God put him in my life I think he was placed in my life because he's showing me sides of myself that I reject, that I deny. Okay. Because from Josh's perspective, from my ego, I'm a optimistic, spontaneous, charismatic, open, carefree guy, right? Who wouldn't want to hang around me? Okay. Now to him, the way he was raised and who he is, he abandons those qualities in himself. You see, he's extremely contrarian. He's very structured. He doesn't break out of the mold. All right. And so to me, he's like very rigid. Okay. And he's negative, but that's from my perspective. Now, from his perspective, the way he sees me in those same traits, that optimism is idealism. That spontaneity, that's dangerous. That charisma is showing too much emotion, okay? So from his perspective, he sees me in a completely different light. Now, here's the thing. Your wife has her perspective, and your inability to see from her perspective is going to cause you to go through the same pattern with the next woman because you're not going to save your own marriage. In fact, your ability to overcome yourself, to identify those parts of yourself that had pushed her away from her perspective, and then to change those, that's the work. That's all of it. And that's what we specialize in, okay? Our marriage evaluators have spent thousands of hours per marriage evaluator over the past 5-6 years. So we can immediately pick up the blind spots in who you are. Same with our coaches. And that causes the most growth. So if you want the opportunity to set up a call with our team, a free call, strategy call with our marriage evaluators, click the link down below. But I have to say to only click that link if you're fully committed to actually investing in yourself and doing something different. Lucky 13th principle is that your track record means nothing to her. This one kills guys so much. You know, I mean, I was victim of this in my last relationship. I was like, look at all the trips I've taken you. Look at all the things I bought for you. I'm such a good guy. Look at all these things. And yeah, she can appreciate that for you, but that appreciation will last until the next time she feels disconnected from you. Okay. And then in that moment, because she is so present moment focused, when she's feeling her feelings, she's not going to go back and think, oh, well, he did all these things for me. Maybe I should let go of maybe I should just ease up a little bit. That's not how it would work. I would love for that to be, I mean, that's how us men work sometimes too, right? Like, this guy did a lot for me. Maybe I should just like ease up a little bit. That's not how she works. And if you're arguing with how women are, you're going to live a hard life. Instead, if you accept that all these external favors and this life you built for her, it's great. And it's amazing that you did it. Give yourself a pat on the back. But at the same time, you still have to show up for her as a good man, a man that sees her, doesn't dismiss her, passes her tests, holds space for her, makes decisions, everything I'm talking about. Those are eternally more important than these external things you did from the past. I know, I fell victim of this myself, right? I remember one time I took her on this trip like a month prior, okay? And I was taking her on another trip a month later. And she complains, even I just said complaints, right? Like even to this day, I get caught up in it. She requested, she said, hey, and it wasn't a complaint, it was a request. She said, hey, I feel like we haven't gone on a date in a while. And I was like, well, we just went on this massive trip. I spent all this money and then we're going to go on this other trip in the future. Like, what do you mean? Like, I got defensive. Even I will do this, right? But she had a punch. She just had a feeling like, hey, I want to go on a date with you. And I didn't even have to take her on a date in that moment. I just had to understand how she felt. She felt disconnected from me. That's what she was expressing, you see? And I missed the opportunity from the test to make her feel better about that, to understand her emotions, to not dismiss her, to not rationalize, to not do all those things. The 14th principle here, the most controversial one, is the contained killer. There's a reason why, okay, that a lot of women love Ted Bundy. There's a reason why women are fascinated by vampires, okay? They're not crazy. I mean, yeah, women are crazy, but to us. But she wants the killer in you. This doesn't mean you're going to go out there and be aggressive. This doesn't mean you're going to go be violent, right? But she wants to know you have the capacity to protect her. And I know that if someone were to try to physically harm her or your kids, you would kill that person. Like you would be, you have that in you. Where a lot of men lack this is that you get scared of her, okay? And you also have softened yourself in other areas of your life. You become soft, right? You stopped competing. Your testosterone levels have dropped significantly, unless you're taking testosterone, which is good for you. But you don't have this edge anymore. You forgot what it even feels like to have that edge, to have that sense of vitality, to want to go conquer. A lot of men, they've achieved these check marks in life, like I said, with the complacency, and they're like, well, why do I have to keep on striving? You strive until you die. Because the process of this life is to become a better man day by day. I mean, is it not? That's what, right? And so leaning into your edge, as David Data says, becoming like unlocking this masculine drive, this dominance in you. You dominate in the workplace. You can dominate your body. You can dominate her, not in a negative way. There's positive dominance. Teal Swan talks about this. Positive dominance is the idea that you possess her, that she's yours. Okay. And you do so from a loving place, not from a place of fear. That's the positive aspect of this dominance. If you read enough of these fantasy women romance novels, you'll see the types of qualities that these women are obsessed with, right? This positive obsession that she is yours. Okay. I don't know how to expand on it further. It's just, if you read enough novels or you see this enough or you talk to her about this honestly, you can see how it plays out. A lot of men have just become weak and passive and too timid to go after what they want in life, okay? And that's how you unlock this contained killer in you. The final principle, the 15th principle, is that she is going to test the chinks in your armor. We talk about testing a lot, and there's going to be a video of this one, a testing framework, one of the best on the channel that you should definitely watch after this. But there's this idea that women are intuitively sensing and trying to challenge you to become the best version of yourself. And when there's pieces of you that have become weak, she will knock on those pieces and try to break them open, okay? So let's use an example. Let's say you have two guys. One is an apex male, a guy who's just crushing in life. He has extreme confidence. And then there's a guy who has insecurities about, let's say, his weight, okay? So how would these guys respond to the same test from a woman? Well, let's use this guy first. Let's say she says, you gained some weight. Or like one day she touches your belly. She goes, oh, look at the beer belly. Oh, look at the little gut, right? She's like, oh man, look at that guy. He has a six pack. All forms of test, okay? This guy, I already told you the reactive, dismissive, the problem solving, just he would react in fear. His emotional state would lower. He would crash because it's like, oh no, she doesn't like me. I'm not worthy enough. She's being mean. She's pointing on these things that I'm not feeling good enough as. Again, remember, she wouldn't pull a trigger if there's no trigger to pull. So this guy gets reactive. He gets angry. He maybe points out stuff on her body, right? What does the other guy do? Again, the testing framework at the end of this video, I watch it if this happens to you a lot, where she tests you a lot. I'll just give you the best way to pass a test. Don't react to it, right? You can ignore, not react to it. But the best way by far is humor. So the other guy's like, yeah, honey, I didn't tell you. I'm trying to be Santa Claus next year. You didn't know that? Oh yeah. Or like, yeah, you know what? Some guys, they want a six pack. I drink kegs. It's the keg that I love. See, she's not actually caring about how your body is. She's seeing if you care about it. See the subtle difference there? Apply that to every single test. Go through your mind. Comment down below. Share your tests that your wife has given you over the years so other guys can comment on that. I'll comment on them as well. She wants you to fully love yourself, to not care what other people think. So she'll do things that she knows you are insecure about so she can point them out for you to work on them. And that is the beauty that women give us. And if you think another woman won't do that to you, you are sorely mistaken. All women test all the time, no matter who they are, okay? Or how old they are, or whatever it is. So recognize that she wants you to be full. And so if you can have that understanding around that, you can operate from the correct framework. Now, again, you can set up a call to our team down below. The video right here on testing. Thanks for watching to the very end. You're a true Apex person. See you in the next video.